This morning's discussion topic is empowerment, which is a pretty broad subject, and we could probably go on for hours talking about it because there's really two ends to it. There is the first end, which has to do with your own self-empowerment, and then the second end of this is how you empower others. And unless you're a one-person show, I think you need to understand how to master both ends of this. So why don't we talk just for a moment about the fiction and the reality, because they're really two different things. I think we have this sense in our heads, particularly within the work environment, that someone is going to walk up to us, tell us what to do, or a client is going to ask us exactly what it is they want us to accomplish. And that is where our power begins. So it's given to us. But that's not the reality, at least not in my experience. In my experience, certainly when I was in the first 3 or 4 years of my career, that's the way I behaved. And I discovered at the end of 4 years that really I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't accomplishing more than what the university calls is the required, which might get you in your professional school exam, in my case, law school, but it isn't going to get you ahead in your career. What is the reality? And the reality is empowerment, for the most part, isn't something that's given to you. It's something you take. It's something you take charge of. So what do I mean by that? I'll give you a simple example of something fairly, roughly fourth year into my career. I worked for a very difficult boss, and he called me in one day and asked me a question. And I went back, I did the research, I came back the following day with the answer. When I came back with the answer, he asked me 2 follow-up questions, which I hadn't considered. So I said, I'll have to go check on those and get back to you. And there was a little part of me that felt a little bit embarrassed. And for me, it was a wake-up call. And really, what I learned from that experience was that if I was going to go do some work for someone, that I was going to not only look at the question asked, but I was going to put myself in the shoes of the person giving me the work, or who was empowering me to whatever the extent was that they wanted me to do something. But I pretend to be them and ask myself, okay, once I have this answer, what are the next few things I should reasonably want to know? And that little change of mindset really changed the course of my career. What it meant was, rather than just being me and doing what I appeared to be empowered to do, I was taking on more responsibility. So that was a simple example from early in my career. But what I learned is that the more authority I had as my career expanded, whether it was with clients, whether it was in my organization, or sometimes whether it was just in my marriage, the more I took on that I hadn't been asked to do, the more I felt empowered. So the empowerment was exactly the opposite of what I had expected. So I expected it to be something that was given to me. And more I discovered that the empowerment was coming from within. So it was much more about, I developed a little self-theory about this. It became the theory of vacuums. And that is, as you move through, whether it's your career or your job or your life or your business, you are going to see vacuums. You're going to look out and ask yourself, is there an answer to this question? Is there something within the organization that's not being taken care of that obviously needs to be taken care of? And you have a choice. You can, write a memo up the chain and wait 4 months until they figure out whether they agree with you as to the problem and how it's going to be solved, and be extraordinarily frustrated because you seem to be the only one noticing it. Or you can say, all right, I see this vacuum. No one has stepped up to take care of it. I'm just going to do it. And by stepping into that vacuum, you're filling it. And by filling it, you're changing it. That change you will discover is empowering. It's not something somebody's giving to you. It may not even be something anyone is recognizing, but it is something that you are taking charge of. And as you fill that vacuum, what you discover is your expertise increases, you get the self satisfaction of knowing you've taken care of something. And ultimately, in many cases, and certainly this is the case in my organization, ultimately you become responsible for it because people see what your change is an enhancement. So rather than waiting 2 years for the bureaucrats to say, okay, go ahead and do it, you just step forward, start doing it. At that point in time, you may want to point out to someone here, this seemed to be missing. I tried it. Here's where we are. And you have your positive results at that point in time to back up whatever it is you've chosen to do. So that's empowerment point number one, which is it's really not up to anyone else to empower you. It's up to yourself. And how do you take care of that on a day-to-day basis? Well, I'll give a simple example of what happened to me today. I had a couple of things that I needed to accomplish, and I woke up this morning and discovered that one of my appliances in my home wasn't working. And it's a really important one for my wife. So that item jumped to the top of my list, and I had a choice. I could be extraordinarily frustrated and say, no, I was planning to do A, B, and C today, one of which was to prepare for this. So this moved down the list slightly just to number 2. There was still enough time to do it. But I made the adjustment. I took care of it. And managing your list is another very important way of empowering you. We have this tendency sometimes to have something on the agenda, otherwise have a loose agenda for the day, and then events tend to intervene and we never get to it. At the end of the day, we're feeling frustrated or overwhelmed. I don't know about you, but occasionally, certainly this morning when the oven went on the fritz, I had this momentary feeling of being overwhelmed. Like I have all these things I needed to do today, and now I don't know what I'm going to get to or when. And what I have found personally is that if you sit down and make a very short list of the key items you want to accomplish in a day, you're far more likely to accomplish them than if you have a generalized list of, what you'll get to if you have a chance to get to it. So once again, making that list isn't just a function of being more organized. It's a function of empowering yourself. That was the first part of the message I wanted to get to today. In our next session, we will talk about empowerment going in the other direction. And that is really, how do you delegate better? How do you empower the people who are responding to you? So I want to thank you all for attending. Looking forward to seeing you all again shortly.